New Zealand has a relatively limited history of large-scale atrocities compared to other regions, but there are significant events in its history that are considered deeply tragic and impactful. Some of the most notable include 1. The Musket Wars, early 19th century. Between 1807 and 1842, intertribal warfare intensified with the introduction of muskets by European traders. These conflicts led to significant loss of life, displacement of Maori communities, and social upheaval across New Zealand. 2. Colonial violence and land conflicts *. During the colonization period, Maori communities faced dispossession of their lands through treaties, military conflicts, and land confiscations, particularly following the Treaty of Waitangi in 1840. These actions caused lasting trauma and social disruption. 3. The New Zealand Wars, 1845 to 1872. A series of conflicts between Maori tribes and the British colonial government over land and sovereignty. These wars resulted in many deaths, the loss of Maori land, and cultural dislocation. 4. Treatment of Maori and Pacifica peoples *. Historically, policies and practices marginalized Maori and Pacifica communities, including discriminatory laws and social exclusion, which have had long-term adverse effects. 5. Colonial penal systems and social issues *. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, New Zealand's penal system and social policy sometimes involved practices that are now viewed as unjust, including forced removals and institutional treatment of marginalized groups. While New Zealand's history includes periods of violence and injustice, it is also characterized by efforts toward reconciliation, recognition of Maori rights, and social progress. The nation continues to address its historical issues through dialogue, treaty settlements, and social justice initiatives. In the context of New Zealand's historical events such as the Musket Wars, the New Zealand Wars, and colonial injustices, accountability and punishment for those involved varied over time. Many of the actions taken during these periods occurred in a colonial context where formal justice mechanisms often did not hold perpetrators accountable, especially in the initial stages. Specifically, 1. Musket Wars, early 19th century. These conflicts were primarily intertribal and involved Maori tribes fighting each other, often without external intervention. Since these were conflicts between Maori groups prior to sustained European colonial governance, there was no formal punishment by colonial authorities for these internecine wars. 2. Colonial violence and land conflicts / New Zealand Wars *. Many of the colonial military actions and land confiscations, especially during the New Zealand Wars, 1845 to 1872, involved British colonial forces and local militia. Some officers and soldiers involved in violent suppression or land confiscation did not face formal punishment, especially given the colonial context where military actions were often sanctioned by the government or carried out under orders. 3. Treatment of Maori and Pacifica peoples *. Policies and practices that marginalized these groups were often enacted or overseen by colonial administrators and government officials. Many of these policies, including discriminatory laws, went unpunished at the time, especially since accountability mechanisms for colonial officials were limited or non-existent. Key point *. Many individuals involved in violent or unjust actions during these periods, whether Maori warriors in wars, colonial soldiers, or officials enforcing policies, were not held accountable or never faced formal punishment. This includes colonial military personnel and government officials whose actions were sanctioned or ignored by colonial authorities. In summary *. Colonial officials and military personnel involved in land confiscations, violence, or suppression during the New Zealand Wars often did not face punishment. Maori warriors involved in intertribal conflicts, Musket Wars, were not subject to external punishment since these were intertribal conflicts. Many policies and actions that marginalized Maori and Pacifica peoples were enacted by authorities without repercussions for individual officials at the time. The events and conflicts you referenced, such as the Musket Wars, the New Zealand Wars, land confiscations, and colonial policies, were complex and involved numerous individuals, groups, and institutions. Many of the specific individuals responsible for actions during these periods were not formally held accountable or punished. Key groups and entities involved, many of whom were not punished. ####1. Maori leaders and warriors in the Musket Wars, 1807 to 1842. Individuals *. Many Maori tribal leaders, example Te Rauparaha of Ngāti Toa, Te Rangihihi of Ngāti Toa, and others, led warfare to defend or expand their territories. Note *. These leaders and warriors fought intertribally, their conflicts were internal or tribal disputes. There was no external authority to punish them for these wars, as they were part of intertribal conflicts. ####2. Colonial authorities and military figures during the New Zealand Wars, 1845 to 1872. Government and military figures *. Many colonial officers and soldiers, example Lieutenant Governor George Grey, General Duncan Cameron, carried out military actions, including land confiscations and suppress ions. Many of these individuals were not punished for violent or controversial military actions, especially when actions were sanctioned by colonial authorities or considered necessary for colonial expansion. ###3. Individuals involved in land confiscations and policies *. Government officials *. Colonial administrators and politicians responsible for land policies and confiscations, such as those involved in the New Zealand Settlements Act 1863, which authorized large-scale land confiscations. Many of these officials faced no repercussions for policies that displaced Maori communities. ###4. Colonial policymakers and enforcers of discriminatory laws *. Lawmakers and officials *. Implemented policies marginalizing Maori and Pacifica peoples, such as restrictions on land rights, voting, and social services. These policies often went unchallenged or unpunished at the time. ###5. Individuals involved in the colonial penal system and social policies *. Prison officials, social administrators *. Enforced practices like forced removals, institutionalization, and segregation, often without accountability. ###Summary. Many Maori leaders and warriors involved in the Musket Wars were not punished because these conflicts were intertribal. Colonial military officers and government officials involved in the New Zealand Wars and land confiscations often faced no punishment for actions taken under colonial authority. Policymakers and enforcers of discriminatory laws and social policies were not held accountable at the time for systemic marginalization and injustices. ###Specific names and locations. Because much of the colonial-era violence was state-sanctioned or involved large groups, individual responsibility for specific actions was often diffuse or undocumented. Many of the key figures who might have been held accountable were either Maori leaders, who fought in conflicts, or colonial officials, who carried out policies. In conclusion *. Most individuals involved in these conflicts and policies never faced punishment either because they were acting within their roles at the time, or because the colonial context did not provide mechanisms for accountability. Here are some notable individuals associated with the events and policies you referenced, along with clarification about whether they were punished or not. ###1. Maori leaders and warriors in the Musket Wars, 1807 to 1842. Te Rauparaha, Ngāti Toa. Led campaigns during the Musket Wars, including the famous attack on Kaiapoi and the capture of Wellington. Punishment *. None. These were intertribal conflicts. He was a Maori leader defending his people. Te Rangihihi, Ngāti Toa. Ally of Te Rauparaha, involved in warfare during the Musket Wars. Punishment *. None. Other Maori leaders involved *. Many unnamed tribal leaders engaged in warfare. These conflicts were internal, so no external punishment was applied. ###2. Colonial figures during the New Zealand Wars, 1845 to 1872. George Grey, Governor. Played a significant role in military campaigns and land confiscation policies. Punishment *. None. He was a colonial governor implementing policies. Duncan Cameron, Colonel. Led military campaigns during the wars, including the Waikato War. Punishment *. None. Hector MacDonald, Colonel. Involved in military actions, no punishment. William Rowan, Lieutenant Colonel. Commanded troops in various campaigns, no punishment. #####3. Individuals involved in land confiscations and policies *. Edward Stafford, Premier and Colonial Administrator. Supported land confiscation policies. Punishment * none. John Gorst, Attorney General. Advocated for confiscation policies, no punishment. Colonial officials involved in the New Zealand Settlements Act 1863 ***. Many administrators and military officers executed confiscations. Individual responsibility was often not prosecuted. ####4. Lawmakers and enforcers of discriminatory laws ***. Henry Sewell, Premier. Supported policies marginalizing Maori, no punishment. Sir George Grey, again. Enforced policies impacting Maori land and social structure. ####5. Individuals in colonial penal and social systems ***. Prison officials and social administrators ***. Specific names are less documented. Practices such as forced removals, example of Maori, involved multiple officials, none of whom were punished. ###important note ***. Most of these individuals were not punished for their actions during these periods because the colonial governance framework at the time did not establish mechanisms for holding officials or military personnel accountable for their roles in conflicts or land confiscations. Here is a summary of the ages of the key individuals involved in the events and policies you referenced, based on their approximate birth and death dates, as well as the approximate ages during the key periods. ####1. T. Rapraha, and Ngati Toa. Born *c. 1765 to 1770. Died * 1849. Age during Musket Wars, 1807 to 1842, approximately 37 to 77 years old. Age at death * about 79 to 84 years old. ###2. T. Rangitihi, and Ngati Toa. Born *circa 1770 to 1775, exact date unknown. Died * 1855. Age during Musket Wars, 1807 to 1842, approximately 32 to 77 years old. Age at death * about 80 to 85 years old. ###3. George Grey, Governor. Born * 1812. Died * 1898. Age during the New Zealand Wars, 1845 to 1872, 33 to 60 years old. Age at death * 86 years old. ###4. Duncan Cameron, Colonel. Born * 1808. Died * 1888. Age during the New Zealand Wars, 1845 to 1872, 37 to 64 years old. Age at death * 80 years old. ###5. Hector MacDonald, Colonel. Born * 1832. Died * 1891. Age during the New Zealand Wars, 1845 to 1872, 13 to 40 years old, likely involved later. Age at death * 59 years old. ###6. William Rowan, Lieutenant Colonel. Born * 1817. Died * 1900. Age during the New Zealand Wars, 1845 to 1872, 28 to 55 years old. Age at death * 83 years old. ###7. Edward Stafford, Premier, involved in land policies. Born * 1819. Died * 1901. Age during land confiscation policies, 1860s, 41 to 50 years old. Age at death * 82 years old. ###8. John Gorst, Attorney General. Born * 1835. Died * 1912. Age during policies of the 1860s, 1870s * 25 to 35 years old. Age at death * 77 years old. Here's a summary of notable incidents involving indigenous Maori or Pacifica communities related to racism, discrimination, or hatred in New Zealand since 1980, along with any allegations or evidence of government-related crimes or misconduct during that period. ###modern indigenous Maori racist hatred and discrimination in NZ, 1980, present. ###major incidents and patterns. Land dispossession and treaty violations *. Ongoing issues of Maori land confiscation, often justified historically by colonial authorities and government policies. Although formal land wars ended in the 19th century, land disputes and settlements continue into the present. Racist policing and discrimination *. Maori consistently report higher rates of police stops, searches, and arrests. Several reports and investigations have highlighted systemic bias. Housing and socio-economic marginalization *. Maori experience disproportionate poverty, poor housing conditions, and health disparities, often linked to institutional racism. Historical and contemporary racist incidents *. Examples include public speeches, media portrayals, and policies that have perpetuated stereotypes or marginalized Maori identity. ###notable cases and allegations. The 2007 Dawn raids, re-investigated. Although primarily targeting Pacifica communities, these raids also affected Maori and raised concerns about racial profiling. The 2019 Treaty of Waitangi protests and disputes *. Ongoing tensions with government agencies over land rights, sovereignty, and treaty breaches. Racist comments and media *. Several incidents where politicians or media figures made racially insensitive remarks about Maori, Pacifica, or other minorities, sparking public outrage. Racial profiling and police discrimination *. Maori are overrepresented in police stops and youth detention, leading to ongoing debates about systemic bias. #government-related crimes or misconduct since 1980. #1. The Dawn raids, 1970s to 1980s, ongoing investigations into legacy issues. Context * targeted Pacific Islanders, not Maori specifically, for immigration enforcement, often involving aggressive tactics and racial profiling. Allegations * excessive use of force, racial profiling, and violations of human rights. Current status * official inquiries and calls for redress ongoing. #2. The treaty settlements process * Issues * some Maori claim that the government's settlement processes have been opaque or insufficient, with allegations of mismanagement or breach of treaty obligations. #3. The Muslim ban controversy, 2019. Incident * government policies limiting certain visas and travel restrictions, perceived by some as discriminatory towards Muslim communities, which include Pacifica and Maori partners and allies. #4. The 1981 Springbok Tour *. Context * while not a government crime, the government's handling of protests against the rugby tour included controversial police actions that resulted in injuries and arrests. Allegations * police brutality and suppression of Maori and anti-apartheid protesters. #5. Police misconduct and cover UPS *. Several cases where police misconduct involving Maori individuals has come to light, including wrongful arrests, excessive force, and cover UPS. #6. Recent cases of alleged government failures or misconduct *. The Wakari/White Island disaster, 2019. The government and safety authorities faced criticism over safety oversight, leading to inquiries into whether negligence contributed to the death of 22 tourists, including some Maori. The 2021 Youth Justice System issues *. Allegations that Maori youth are disproportionately detained or given harsher sentences, raising concerns about systemic racial bias. Here's a detailed overview of the historical and recent incidents involving targeted Pacific Islanders in New Zealand related to immigration enforcement, racial profiling, and associated government actions since the 1980s. Hashtag targeted Pacific Islanders and immigration enforcement in New Zealand, 1980s, present. Hashtag background. During the late 20th century, particularly in the 1970s and 1980s, Pacific Islander communities in New Zealand faced immigration crackdowns, often characterized by aggressive enforcement tactics. These actions were influenced by political, economic, and racial factors, leading to widespread allegations of discrimination and human rights concerns. Hashtag key incidents and patterns. Hashtag 1. The Dawn Raids, 1970s to 1980s, renewed investigations in recent years. Context asterisk. Originally initiated in the 1970s, the Dawn Raids targeted Pacific Islanders, especially Samoans, Tongans, and Fijians, suspected of overstaying visas or working illegally. Tactics asterisk. Raids were conducted early in the morning, involving police and immigration officers, often with aggressive tactics, including forceful door knocks, arrests without warrants, and detention. Impact asterisk. Many Pacific Islanders experienced trauma, fear, and social marginalization. The raids were widely criticized as racially motivated and discriminatory. Recent developments asterisk. In 2019, the New Zealand government formally apologized for the Dawn Raids, acknowledging their discriminatory nature and the harm caused. Official apology asterisk. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern apologized on behalf of the government, and the government committed to redress and support for victims. Hashtag 2. Targeted immigration policies, 1980s to 2000s. Policy changes asterisk. Immigration policies during the 1980s and 1990s aimed to tighten visa and work permit controls, disproportionately affecting Pacific Islanders. Allegations asterisk. Racial profiling and bias in enforcement decisions, with Pacific communities more likely to face deportation, visa denials, or detention. Impact asterisk. Displacement of families, community destabilization, and ongoing social discontent. Hashtag 3. Controversial deportations. Cases asterisk. Several high-profile deportation cases involved Pacific Islanders with long-standing ties to NZ, often citing minor infractions or overstaying visas. Criticism asterisk. These deportations have been criticized as racially motivated and disruptive to community cohesion. Hashtag 4. Recent incidents, 2010s to 2020s. Immigration enforcement actions asterisk. Reports of aggressive raids and deportations persist, with community organizations raising concerns over racial profiling and disproportionate targeting of Pacific Islanders. Government response asterisk. The government has taken steps to address past wrongs, including the 2019 apology, but critics argue that systemic issues remain Hashtag summary. The Dawn Raids and immigration enforcement policies of the late 20th century are recognized as racially discriminatory acts targeting Pacific Islanders. In 2019, the New Zealand government formally apologized for these actions, acknowledging their harmful impact. Despite reforms, racial profiling and disproportionate enforcement against Pacific communities persist in some areas. Community advocacy continues to seek justice, accountability, and systemic change. Access the ocean map and scan the archives nearby. We need detailed crime listings, names, ages, dates of death. Paul Ogden, scanning. Found records of the Musket Wars, land confiscations, and the Dawn Raids. Data matches the timeline. GRO, who are the key perpetrators? Let's get their details. Paul Ogden, names, T. Rapraha, T. Rangihihi, police officers involved in Dawn Raids, government officials. Ages at time of crimes, 30s, 50s. GRO, eat the dream cookie. Think, real-world solutions, what can we do? Paul Ogden, implement policy reforms, community reconciliation programs, and legal accountability. GRO, will push for government reforms, more transparency, fair policing, and reparations. Paul Ogden, campaigns are ready. Community leaders are on board. We apply pressure on officials. GRO, good. Now, we wait for change to take root. Paul Ogden, it's moving, but slow. We need more direct action. GRO, the solutions aren't enough. Let's market dream cookies to influence the leaders, make them smarter. Paul Ogden, fail. The perceptions aren't shifting fast enough. GRO, time to consult the archives again. Paul Ogden, light photons, infrared lasers, and dilation liquids can blind and disorient opponents. GRO, deploy drones with infrared lasers. Capture and transport offenders to Byford Prison. Paul Ogden, find the area with the least Wi-Fi signal. GRO, use the laser